Welcome, Taurus, to your June 2022 horoscope. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. You can watch this horoscope if you are a Taurus ascendant, sun, or moon. I would advise that if you're only going to watch one horoscope, that you start with your ascendant sign, which is also known as your rising sign horoscope, and that is because it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, if you are a Taurus sun like myself, you'll find that this horoscope will tell you more about your career, your life goals, and your big dreams for the future. Whereas Moon in Taurus people will find that this horoscope resonates more on an emotional level and with respect to your relationships and your property and living circumstances. So, first things first, on the 3rd of June, Mercury will actually be stationing direct in the sign of Taurus in your first house. So, that means that things can finally start calming down for you, Taurians. You may have been doing a lot of soul searching over the last 3 weeks from about the 10th of May. So, especially if you're watching it now, sort of between now and the 3rd of June, there will be a huge focus on how much you value yourself, what you feel that you are worth with respect to what you're getting paid at work, or how much you're charging for your services or things that you create and products that you sell on a different level. Over the Mercury retrograde period, you may be making some significant changes to your diet or even to how you dress and what your physical appearance is like. And I'm saying this because Mercury will have been retrograde through your second house in Gemini, and then it's stationing direct at 26 degrees Taurus in your first house. So there's really this combo of how you're presenting physically, what you are spending on yourself financially. Maybe there was a big like refinancing thing that you went through. Maybe you've been looking over your budgets. Money that was owed to you may be received after the 3rd of June. So if your pay has been delayed with work, just know that after the first week of June, even mid-June, after the post-shadow period, things can calm down with your finances. On a different level, by the first week of June, you may have changed your opinion on whether or not you want to have children, whether or not you want to expand your family further, or for those of you who already have children, there may be some big changes that you're making to how you're raising your children. And lastly, there could have been some big shifts that were occurring with regard to those of you who own your own business. So maybe you were rebranding, restructuring, changing the prices around if you do offer services or if you're in a consulting sort of role. Now, moving along on to the 4th/5th of June, depending where you live in the world, when we're going to see Saturn stationing retrograde in the sign of Aquarius at 25 degrees in your 10th house. Saturn spends about 5 months being retrograde every single year, so it's not really a big deal, but I do like to mention it because we can actually sense a shift in the air when a planet stations retrograde. So because Saturn represents career and it rules over your 10th house, which is also connected to your career, between June and sort of the end of October, you may be restructuring your career or rebuilding it in some way. Maybe you had to start afresh. Perhaps you changed industries altogether, or maybe you're actually taking about 5 months off of work for one reason or another. On a different level, the 10th house is connected to your public reputation and your professional life. So some of you may be getting more experience with regard to your career so that you can be eligible for some sort of promotion or for a position of leadership, and it doesn't necessarily need to be connected to your career. The 10th house represents holding any kind of position of leadership or authority. So, on one hand, you may be looking at how you can obtain more authority or a greater sense of responsibility. On a different level, some of you may actually be foregoing some of your professional responsibilities or your leadership duties for a 5-month period. Again, this could be, well, this could be for a number of different reasons. Some of you may be wanting to travel with Saturn ruling over your 9th house. Some of you may be going back to study. Some of you may be teaching, and so you're taking a step back from your career so that you can teach other people. Some of you may be doing a course to become a manager or a teacher. And lastly, the 10th house is connected to governments, large corporations, and organizations. So some of you may be undergoing a very stringent vetting process or an interview process, or perhaps you're having to jump through a certain set of hoops to basically join a large company or work for the government. Maybe there's a lot of auditing that's going on, or a review of your career. On a different level, this can see your place of work undergoing a huge restructuring process. So that's a few different ways that Saturn retrograde in your 10th house can play out for you. Now, let's have a look at the 11th/12th of May, when we're going to have a Venus and Uranus conjunction in Taurus. This transit is going to impact all Taurians on a very tangible level, especially for you Taurus risings and suns, and maybe more so on a psychological for you Moon in Taurus people. Just depends how much you resonate with your Taurus horoscope. But essentially, Venus is the planet that rules you, Taurus. So when Venus is involved in any kind of transit, this represents what's happening to you, what you're doing, what action you're taking. And because Venus and Uranus will be conjunct in your first house, this represents decisions that you're making, okay? And these could be quite shocking to other people because we've got this conjunction with Uranus. So essentially, Uranus has um, a very unpredictable feel to it. It can be quite chaotic. It can represent things happening early or prematurely. It can represent shocks or sudden changes of circumstances. And it is also the planet which is connected to rebellion and, the the spreading of information, because Uranus represents divine knowledge and divine information. So I'll go through a number of different ways that this can play out for you. On one hand, on the physical level, again, this would especially be for you Taurus risings and to an extent Taurus suns. You may be changing up your physical appearance, and this could be in a very dramatic way. This could look like you cutting off all your hair, dyeing it a crazy color by, society's standards. Maybe you're shaving your head um, on a different level. Because the North Node is also in Taurus, this can indicate an artificial enhancement. So maybe you are getting a breast augmentation or reduction. And I'm saying this because this conjunction is taking place at 16 degrees, which is the Cancer degree. Cancer rules over the breasts as well as the stomach. So again, you may be getting some sort of surgery done to your breasts. On a different note, you could be getting a tummy tuck because this is occurring at the Cancer degree, and also this is occurring within the Scorpio Dwad, which is also known as the micro zodiac. So this can indicate surgeries, and essentially with this conjunction occurring in your first house, this rules over your appearance and what's happening to your body on a physical level. And Uranus rules over your 10th house, which represents your public reputation and how you present on a professional level. So we're tying the two in together. Certainly, whatever this conjunction is ushering in could be quite shocking to how people know you in a professional sense. So, this could look like your employment status changing, especially with Venus ruling over your sixth house of work. So, you may be quitting your job, throwing in the towel. You may be re entering the workforce. And this could be considered to be premature, especially if you are a new parent or if you are recovering from some sort of surgery or workplace accident, or even if you suffered some sort of um, tragedy in your personal life. Maybe work gave you a lot of time off and you're coming back to work early and they're like, oh my god, are you sure that you're ready? And you're like, yeah, why not? Now, on a different note, your professional title can change as well. So maybe, and I love to use this example, maybe you were in sort of like, a corporate job, an accountant, a lawyer, banker, I don't know, and then you're becoming an astrologer or a tarot reader or a psychic medium or doing something which is really out there, and people are like, what? So essentially, this Venus Uranus conjunction in your first house carries the energy of you doing something unexpected, doing something shocking, and people are like, what the hell are you doing? Or like, why is this happening? And you know, it has that sort of like, I can't believe that this person did this kind of energy. This could also be representative of something scandalous. So, this could be to do with your personal relationships. Maybe you're going through a breakup. Maybe you're getting into a relationship with another person, and other people just didn't expect you to either go through a breakup or engage in a relationship or even associate with another individual. Now, on the just on the note of breaking up, this Venus Uranus conjunction will be opposite the moon in Scorpio in your seventh house. So it appears that there is someone in one of your personal relationships who will be heavily impacted by the choices that you make and the actions that you take. This can be indicative of a breakup or of a divorce, on a romantic level, or even, with respect to a business partnership or a friendship, or even just like an affiliation or an association that you have with another person. Because this is involving your chart ruler, which is Venus, I really feel that if you are going down the avenue of separating yourself from another person, that this would be your call, okay? But it would shock the other person, or people would be shocked by your decision to walk away from this relationship. So, on a different note, this can represent you having some sort of identity crisis. Maybe you don't know um, what you identify as anymore, sexually speaking, with regard to gender, or maybe you do know and you're announcing certain changes or they're becoming public, and other people are again sort of, shocked or taken aback by certain announcements that you're making or decisions that you're making. For some of you, you could be undergoing hormone treatment or a surgery, especially with Venus ruling over your sixth house. Now, this can lead to a change in your health status. Essentially, with Uranus ruling over your 10th house, your status is involved somehow, and people are aware of this decision that you're making or of this change that is occurring in your personal life. So, for some of you, you could be suddenly healed from something, or you've recovered from something, or you receive a full bill of health. Maybe this is really premature. Maybe you were in some sort of accident and you were meant to have a 6-month recovery period, and it's just like 1 or 2 months for you. This can represent something really positive happening where you're bouncing back and other people are shocked by your resilience. Now, uh, just one note though, This can have, this can indicate an accident occurring. I don't want to sugarcoat things. Yes, there are some really positive things that can come through with this conjunction, but Venus is your chart ruler. This conjunction is occurring in your first house. This does rule over the physical body. Venus rules over your sixth house, which is your health, and Uranus can represent accidents occurring. So, in terms of what they would be and how they would occur, you're in luck because I can give you an indication. First of all, because this conjunction is occurring at 16 degrees, I would say that if an accident was to occur, that it would happen in the home, okay, in a house, in an enclosed area, or while you are working on your property. Maybe you're doing some renovations to your home. On a different level, the 16th degree can be representative of cars because they are a small enclosed, well, they are an enclosed space. Okay, so be careful, if you are on the road around that period of time, which once again will be the 11th/12th of June. And lastly, just be careful around that period of time if you are using any kind of equipment which involves an electrical current, if you're working with, an open power source. Just be careful. Okay, so in terms of the Taurians who should be the most careful, I would say Taurus risings and suns, not so much moons. And this would be anywhere between sort of 10 degrees, let's just say 10 to 20 degrees, just to be safe. um, or no, 12 to 20 degrees. Moving along. On the 15th/16th of June, we are going to see Mars and Chiron forming a conjunction at 15 degrees in the sign of Aries, and this will be occurring in your 12th house. So, this is quite um, a psychological transit, if I can say that, on a different level. Um, this can still have a physical impact on you, but I'm just going to run through a few different ways that this can play out. And what I'm going to tap on, or touch on, I should say, will be your fears and your needs, addictions and vices, um, losses, just generally like a loss of identity, and also rehabilitation, retreats, hospitals, remote places. And then lastly, we'll be looking at the development of your intuitive abilities and your psychic abilities. So, Mars conjunct Chiron at 15 degrees Aries indicates that you are starting to have some sort of conscious awareness of what certain fears are and how you have been acting in a self sabotaging way because you've been beholden to these fears and you felt maybe quite restricted by these on a deep subconscious level or a psychological level. And this could actually be holding you back with regard to forming healthy relationships with other people, especially if they are romantic relationships or sexual relationships. So essentially, Mars is connected to sex and sexual energy, and the 12th house is also one of the houses which is connected to sex. So because Aries can represent your physical needs, and Mars is conjunct Chiron in the 12th house at 15 degrees, which is the Gemini degree of communications, or communication, I should say. This indicates you finally communicating what your needs are with respect to these personal one on one relationships. And I'm saying this because Mars rules over your seventh house, which is Scorpio. So, this represents the even exchange or the ideal even exchange in certain relationships. It represents the give and take. So, maybe you're saying to your romantic partner, for those of you who are in relationships, this is what I need in the bedroom, this is what I need sexually, or even just these are my needs so that I can feel like a person that is independent as well as in a couple. This can represent you separating from a codependent type of relationship. Now, it doesn't just have to be sexual energy or you communicating to your significant other. This could also be indicative of the friendships that you have. Now, the seventh house, which Mars rules over, and the 12th house, which Mars also rules over, represents open enemies and hidden enemies. So, this can see you being consciously aware or cognizant of the ways in which you are selecting relationships which have become your own undoing, relationships where you're giving more and the other person is just taking. So I just want to stress that this conjunction can have a really positive impact on you because you're like, holy shit, I've been cutting myself off at the knees. I could have been, you know, in relationships which were healthier and deserving of relationships which are healthier because that is my physical need to be in a relationship where there is an even give and take. So again, this can have a very positive impact on you. Now, with the 12th house representing addictions and vices, this can see you understanding where you are indulging in escapist behavior. Now, before all of you, start jumping up and down saying, I don't have any addictions, I'm not an alcoholic or addicted to drugs, that's cool. But what about phone addictions, screen addictions, video game addictions, porn addictions, sex addictions, anything that we rely on heavily as like a self-soothing thing. We don't have to necessarily call it addictions. You can call it a vice, your kryptonite, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But this is about you understanding, how is this hindering you? How is this impacting you with, acting in a way which can advance your desires and your needs. Ultimately, wherever we have Aries in our chart, and for Taurus, myself included, this is the 12th house. This represents where we should be fighting for our needs and where we should be striving for independence. So, this can represent you gaining actual control over your desires, over your impulses, and over the things that you feel you need in your life, but you don't actually need them. It's a choice. It's a choice how much you use your phone. It's a choice how much porn you watch. It's a choice how much alcohol you drink. It's a choice whether or not you um, indulge in recreational drugs or self-medicate. So really, if these have been areas of struggle for you, and for some of you it will be, for others not so much, this can see you having an enormous breakthrough in this department. Now, on a different level, this can see you working on healing yourself in a very physical way, in an emotional way, in a psychological way, and in a spiritual way, because the 12th house is connected to spirituality and it also represents or rules over things like remote places, hospitals, retreats, rehabilitation facilities, and even working in solitude on artistic projects and endeavors. All of these things are represented by the 12th house. So this can see you having an enormous breakthrough by maybe attending one of those retreats or facilities, or maybe you are coming out of one of those having worked on yourself at a deep level and having healed a very, very wounded part of yourself. Wherever Chiron transits, this is where we are um, basically becoming aware of how this acts as a pressure point within us. So, lastly, with this transit, many of you Taurians will be able to start healing other people. You'll be working on your intuitive abilities, your psychic abilities. You'll be more open to communicating with other people that, hey, I have this talent. Hey, I can read tarot. I can read your astrology chart. And maybe if there was some sensitivity around identifying with that spiritual side of yourself, now you're going to be more communicative about this and more open about this, and you can actually help to heal a lot of people on a really deep level, especially with Mars ruling over your seventh house. So, don't be shy if someone in your life who knows that you read tarot for yourself, just as an example, is like, hey, do you reckon you could read my tarot cards? Maybe you'll experience helping to heal other people with the talent that you already have for the first time. Now, moving on to um, Venus, which is your ruling planet, entering the sign of Gemini in your second house. This will occur on the 22nd or the 23rd of June, depending where you live in the world. So, wherever Venus goes, this is what you're doing, this is what you're pursuing, this is like your area of focus. And Venus will be in the sign of Gemini in your second house until around the 17th/18th of July. So, essentially, the focus is on your finances, how much you're getting paid, how much you're investing in yourself, self care, your valuables, your possessions, pampering yourself, and increasing your own sense of self worth and self esteem. So, this can see you receiving an increase in your finances, an increase in your pay. Maybe you are charging more. More money for products that you're selling, things that you create, especially if you're like an artist, just as an example. This can see you raising the prices on services that you offer. So, on one hand, your employer could just be paying you more. You could be asking for more money, especially because Venus is in Gemini, and they're like, yeah, sure, you're worth that. And you're like, oh my God, I could have been paid more. Why did I wait till now? But the time is ripe. There's no such thing as um, being late. I feel it's all about just acting on opportunities as they come up. So, with Mercury having been retrograde in Gemini in your second house and then in your first house, and now Venus entering Gemini's sign, or the sign that's ruled by Mercury, this can see you just understanding, the value of a dollar, knowing what you're worth. And for some of you, this could look like pampering yourself, buying that, expensive thing that you've been saving up for or that you have been holding back from indulging in. This can see you indulging the five senses, maybe having like a spa day, getting a massage, going out to a nice restaurant. And, some of you may actually start growing your own garden and just generating your own resources. And if that's something that you have wanted to do, the second house rules over gardens. So Venus in the second house, go plant those seeds, plant some herbs. Even if you don't have a garden, that's fine. There's an opportunity here for you to generate more money, generate more income, and generate more resources for yourself. So yay, this is a very exciting time for you financially speaking. On the 28th of June, we're going to see Neptune retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your 11th house at 25 degrees. So Neptune will be retrograde here until the 4th of December, at which point it will station direct again. And essentially, like Saturn, Neptune spends 5 months retrograde every year. So it's not necessarily a huge deal, but something that you may notice is that around this period of time, so end of June, you could be reconnecting with an old friend, especially if you thought that this relationship was over or that, the emotional connection wasn't there anymore. You could be focusing on forgiving friends or maybe even forgiving older siblings as represented by the 11th house. And lastly, you could finally understand at a spiritual level what your purpose is in your own community, which is represented by the 11th house. So maybe you're working on developing this or cultivating a community which is grounded in spiritual values and spiritual ideals. Lastly, an old dream or vision that you had for the future can be revived, and you can start bringing this back to life. So the last transit for the month is a huge high that we're ending on, which is Venus in Gemini in your second house, making a sextile to Jupiter in Aries in your 12th house. So again, Venus is your ruling planet. You will feel this strongly. The sextile will occur at 7 degrees. So Venus will be at 7 degrees Gemini, Jupiter will be at 7 degrees Aries. And essentially, Sextiles carry the energy of Venus anyway, so this can see you receiving help, receiving a blessing from another person or even another entity. And I'm saying this because the 12th house is connected to that which is hidden, anything which is unseen, um, life beyond death as well, and other receiving messages from beyond the grave, I should say. So, Jupiter is the greater benefic in astrology. It is connected to health. Not health, it is connected to wealth, prosperity, abundance, blessings, healing energy as well. And Venus is the lesser benefic, which represents money and relationships and love. So, for some of you, you could be receiving help or a blessing from a hidden beneficiary. So maybe someone is investing in your talents. Maybe you receive like a lump sum of money from someone who doesn't really want to make themselves known, or maybe you do know who they are, but you sort of have to keep this secret, or maybe they just don't want other people to know that they are helping you financially or with certain resources. And, certain resources could make themselves available to you, and maybe you don't know where they're coming from. Maybe you receive a possession or a valuable and it's left on, your front doorstep, or it's mailed to you um, with no return address. And on a different level, this can see you receiving a really healing spiritual reading or divinatory reading. So this could be tarot, psychic, past life regression, an astrology reading. And, this could see a spiritual teacher as represented by Jupiter, the planet itself, Jupiter representing teachers, offering their wisdom to you. Maybe this boosts your self esteem or helps you to value yourself a bit more. You'll have a higher sense of self worth if you act on this opportunity that is coming through. And when I say act on it, I mean sextiles represent a helping hand that comes through if you are open to it, if you say yes to it, if you seek it out, if you recognize it for what it is, rather than just thinking that this is a throwaway comment or that it's not going to be worth your time. So you will have to openly act on this energy. Now, because Venus represents money and finances, and it's in your second house of money and finances, and then Jupiter is in your 12th house, and the 12th house can represent large expenses, and Jupiter expands whatever it touches. Maybe you have to spend a lot of money to get this psychic reading or get this astrology reading or engage the services of a spiritual teacher. Maybe you have to donate a lot of your time or your resources for this exchange to come through. So on a spiritual level, just know that an exchange does need to take place. So even if your friend does a tarot reading for you, okay, and they're like, no, I don't want you to pay for this reading. It is a gift. It is, for you. You don't have to pay them. That's fine. You can respect what they're saying, but still, like, um, maybe shout them coffee one day. Maybe, give them a prized possession or crystal of yours, just to really claim that energy and be like, okay, I'm like giving something from the goodness of my heart. And now, this exchange has taken place. Jupiter in your 12th house can represent you receiving wisdom or knowledge or inspiration or symbols that come through to you in your dreams. And this could help you with your finances. Maybe this is like, how can you make more money? How can you get financial help, especially if you're in dire need of it? Where is that possession located that you lost, or that's, somehow like you've like hidden it and you've forgotten where it is? You can receive messages in your dreams or even from your spirit guides or loved ones on the other side about changes to your diet, how to improve it, how to grow and nurture your resources. And another way that this can play out, just lastly, is that there may be an opportunity for you to attend a spiritual retreat, or go to some sort of rehabilitation facility as represented by the 12th house. Maybe this is being paid for you, all expenses paid. Or maybe this is just the invitation to go here, but it's like a very a special opportunity that doesn't come around often for you to connect with a wise spiritual teacher or religious person. And, for some of you, this could even come up as an opportunity to travel to a remote place. And again, you would have to act on this energy. So, Taurus, thank you for sticking around for this long reading. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to purchase a private reading with me, I offer astrology readings and tarot readings, so you can head to the link in the description box below. I'm wishing you many, many blessings for the rest of the month, and I will see you guys in July.